This is the cryptocurrency staking mega video, and I'm seeking to answer all of your questions that you have surrounding staking cryptocurrencies. Now, I know the number one question that you're here to have answered is, why should you stake your cryptocurrency? The answer is, it is a threefold win. The first win is that it grows your cryptocurrency. The actual amount of cryptocurrency that you have grows. It grows the balance of crypto that you have. That's kind of a big win. You get more crypto. And that's the idea at the end of the day. It's kind of why we're all here. The second, and maybe the most important one, is it actually secures the blockchain itself. This secures the entire network. We're going to talk more about what a proof of stake blockchain is and how it secures the network as we progress through that. It's a big talking point. And the third one is that when you choose who you're going to stake your cryptocurrency with, they then more than likely will get rewarded in some way as well. So when you pick a team that you want to join and stake your cryptocurrency with them, they're going to get rewarded too. So there's threefold. You're going to grow your cryptocurrency. The blockchain and the network itself becomes more secure. And thirdly, the team that you choose to delegate or stake your cryptocurrency to, they're going to get rewarded as well. So this is a big win for the entire ecosystem when you stake your cryptocurrency. And now that we've set up why you should continue watching this video, we're going to dive into how it all works and then how you can actually stake cryptocurrency like Solana, both in the web browser as well as even on mobile, including using a Ledger Nano X. Let's go. So staking is a wildly important topic for you to understand because effectively what we're answering is, how does this blockchain even work? Really, in order to set up this conversation, we need to compare how traditional blockchains like Bitcoin, Litecoin, even Ethereum work with their proof of work mining algorithms, and then talk about how that compares to newer proof of stake blockchains like Solana and Polkadot. At the end of the day, when we talk about staking, you should more or less think of that as the equivalent of mining on proof of work algorithms or proof of work blockchains like Bitcoin, because that's kind of how it all works with proof of stake. It's the idea is that we're taking our cryptocurrency and using it to create new blocks in the blockchain. It's kind of how the whole blockchain thing works, is we got to find ways to incentivize how to create new blocks. So what we're going to start out doing is talking about how does proof of stake work, and we're going to introduce a lot of very important terms like validator node that you need to understand in order to get started staking cryptocurrency. Let's draw it up. So in my environment, I actually have ant miners that are up and running right now. They're downstairs, and I modified them to be nice and quiet so that I could run them inside my house. I have a whole playlist on how I did that because it is a pretty involved process. And I even have a video in there called How I'm Mining Solana. But that's super misleading because I'm not actually mining Solana. These ant miners are mining Litecoin right now, and then the pool that I'm mining to swaps that Litecoin for Solana on the fly and then pays me out. We don't actually use miners like these traditional physical machines miners to mine Solana because Solana doesn't work that way. Nor does any proof of stake blockchain like Polkadot or Tezos or Atom. None of those work that way. And this sets up the question about, well, how do these miners work and why are we transitioning to proof of stake blockchains and how do proof of stake blockchains work? Let's kind of draw it up for a little bit and maybe we'll come back to this screen to take a look at it a little closer. When we think about how proof of work blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, how they work, at the end of the day, we're talking about a chain of blocks. And inside these blocks, it carries transactions. Really what these transactions are called, they're called nonces. And what has to happen in order for a new block to be added to the blockchain is we have all of these workers. I'm going to write workers right here, but these are really miners. They're constantly trying to solve a complex mathematical calculation in order to determine the exact output of the next block. And really, this calculation has become so complex that what miners do now is they literally just guess hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions of guesses every single second, hoping that they magically guess the right one that perfectly fits right here on the next blockchain. Now, why are they doing this? Why do we have all of these miners all around the world guessing billions, trillions, however many times a second? Why do we have all of these devices all around the world guessing these? Because two things happen when you guess correctly. The first one is you are granted the right to add the block to the blockchain. And that's pretty cool that you get that. But the second, and maybe the most important one, is that you get paid for doing that. You get paid in Bitcoin or Litecoin. I don't actually know the Litecoin symbol. Isn't it something like that? Or Ethereum. Whatever the point is when you guess the block correctly, you get paid. And usually it's a hefty amount of pay. But the thing about it is it's become really, really hard, if not impossible, to deploy a miner or two miners or three miners, or in my case, 6 miners, and still guess one. Check this out again. If I jump back to my screen right here, I see that this miner in particular has been running, well, the screen went away. It's been running for about 14 and a half hours, and under found blocks, I have found none. That's right. It's really, really hard to actually get paid for mining Litecoin. But occasionally, every now and then, maybe once a week or so, one of these miners will find a block. But that's not very efficient, is it? And it's kind of a guessing game, kind of hoping that maybe I'll find one this week. But the real kicker is it gets harder as these proof of work blockchains go along. It gets harder and harder and harder and harder to actually find a block. So at some point, some of this hardware will actually become obsolete because it just will never find a block because the blockchain itself is too hard. And it will force me to have to upgrade my hardware and find something else. And chances are when I upgrade that hardware, the hardware that I upgrade to might not be as efficient. And it'll have to draw more electricity and power out of the wall just to continue mining. So jumping back to the fact that now, if I have my 6 ant miners here trying to guess what the next block is, the likelihood that they're going to guess that block has become really, really small. So if I draw my little ant miners here as these little squares, what we now have to do is we can mine to some central kind of organization called a mining pool. And the idea is that now other people around the world can throw their mining power into this pool, like so. We've got all these people who are mining to this pool, and as somebody in that pool is lucky enough to guess the block and produce a block for the blockchain, the payment is then gets split evenly among everybody that was mining to the pool based on their contribution to the pool. We can measure how much someone is contributing to this gigantic pool of computing power and then distribute the payments equally among that. It's a really, really cool system, but nonetheless, the idea is that these proof-of-work blockchains are becoming increasingly more difficult to find blocks, and therefore it requires more electricity and people with more capital to spend and invest into all of this mining hardware and pay for all of these electrical bills, that at some point, these proof-of-work blockchains don't scale quite the way that the rest of the world scales. We now are growing more dependent on blockchain. We're now growing more dependent on using peer-to-peer transactional infrastructure like what blockchain is trying to provide, and having a algorithm or a blockchain like Bitcoin that could take 30 minutes to an hour to send some Bitcoin, that's not very scalable, is it? And it's only going to get worse is kind of the thing. This is why we actually see blockchains like Ethereum trying to move away from proof of work towards proof of stake. So how does proof of stake work? Well, at the end of the day, it's a similar concept. A blockchain is a blockchain at the end of the day. It is a chain of blocks that contain transaction data. And we're trying to reward someone for producing a new block on the blockchain. But instead of using all of these ultra high-powered, electric-sucking machines that are trying to guess all the time, randomly guess what the next block should be, instead what we do is we allow people to lock up their cryptocurrency. They actually choose to stake it or lock it for a period of time so that it can be used to determine what the next block is. And this is the part that gets kind of fuzzy. When we think about proof-of-stake blockchains, instead of mining pools, what we have is something called nodes. These are basically gigantic servers at the end of the day. Now, I know you may be thinking like me, well, gigantic servers, oftentimes those consume a lot of electricity. And yeah, they do. But the actual way that blockchains and proof-of-stake blockchains are deployed makes this a infinitely more efficient usage of electricity than proof-of-work blockchain. And the end result is this is a much greener and faster solution than using proof-of-work blockchains. So the idea is that we have, instead of pools, we have all of these nodes. Sometimes they're called master nodes, sometimes they're called validator nodes. But the idea is now what happens is people like me can take my Solana or Polkadot or Tezos, whatever it is, whatever proof-of-stake blockchain you want, and we can choose to stake it in this node. And effectively what this is saying is, I'm voting on this team. I'm willing to put up my capital on this team temporarily. It's still my capital. I can still get it back. But I believe that this team right here, the one that's running this node, they are a good team that can be trusted to help keep the blockchain up and running. So more and more people come along like me, and they put up some of their own capital in this node, and now all of a sudden this node is seen as a trustworthy player in the ecosystem. And when it comes time to create a new block, this node is rewarded by being so trusted that they're allowed to create blocks on the node. So ultimately, what we're really looking for in a decentralized blockchain, whether it's proof of work or it's proof of stake, is we want more people participating in the creation of blocks. In the case of proof of work blockchains, the more miners that we had distributed all around the world, the more decentralized the cryptocurrency became. In the case of proof of stake blockchain, the more nodes we have distributed around the world, the more players that we have can validate and contribute to the blockchain itself. So when we think about proof of stake blockchain, we should think about the fact that the deployment of new nodes adds decentralization into the blockchain itself because more people have options as to what they get to vote on. First of all, that's a good thing. But second of all, the blockchain itself has more third parties effectively contributing to the creation and stability of the blockchain itself. So this is how blockchains like Polkadot, Tezos, Solana, this is how they actually operate, is the deployment of these large nodes are what allows the blockchain to actually be built upon and scaled upon, and then you can come along and stake your cryptocurrency on the nodes. Now, the payment part is a pretty big part of it, right? We know that when we're mining cryptocurrency, somebody finds a block, and then that person gets rewarded with a payment. Or if we're mining to a pool, somebody in the pool mines a block, and then they get reported with a payment. Well, the same thing works here. When it's time for a block to be created, the nodes that are participating in the blockchain are rewarded. And therefore, they turn around and they reward their stakers for voting on them with a portion of that reward. Now, I'm going to talk about how it looks like for Solana, but it's going to be different for every single blockchain, and Solana could even evolve over time. As of right now, at the time of this recording, when a node is rewarded for producing a block on the Solana blockchain, the typical theme that we see is that the node will keep 10% of that reward for themselves and then evenly distribute the remaining 90% back to the stakers based on their contribution to the stake pool. And that's how it actually works. So, in a sense, when you stake your Solana on a master node, this is the equivalent to mining to a mining pool. You're contributing some form of capital instead of electricity, this time it's your upfront capital investment in Solana, to this pool of resources that creates a block and then redistributes that back to you. Now, don't be fooled. Of course, mining pools also keep a percentage of that for themselves for operating the mining pool too in the proof of work algorithms. And like I said, 10% is the standard for Solana, but as you're about to see, it's not what you're going to see on every single node. I'm actually going to demonstrate how we can stake to a node that offers less than 10%. But there's also one other key term that I want you to understand about how staking works, and that's when this payment actually occurs. This is a little bit different from what you see in proof of work algorithms. You find a block, you get paid. Boom, it's done. But when you mine to a mining pool in proof of work algorithms, usually you have to meet some sort of minimum threshold before you actually get paid. Still, nonetheless, you're just trying to accumulate a certain threshold and then you get paid, and that's yours, it's your money. With proof of stake algorithms, it's a little bit different because there's not this, race to find the next block or anything like that. Instead, we do this in durations, and these durations are often referred to as epochs. Some people call it epic. I call it epoch. In Solana, one epoch is roughly about 3 days. So when you stake your cryptocurrency in Solana to a master node, and everything is up and running, you're activated and everything is cool, you're still not going to get paid until after an epoch has occurred. Beyond that, in proof of stake algorithms, it's very, very frequent that you also have a waiting duration. This is for a warm-up period as well as a cooldown period. Again, as an example, Solana kind of works the same way. Let's say we are in the middle of an epoch right now. Epochs are numbered. You'll have something like Epoch 200. And Epoch 200 is going to last, like I said, 3 days on Solana. Then it'll move on to Epoch 201. That'll last 3 days as well. So let's say I come along and we are in the middle of Epoch 200. Here's moment 0 all the way through the 3rd day. If I decide I want to stake 10 Sol in the middle of this epoch, when do I start earning? I actually don't earn anything during this epoch at all. This becomes my warm-up period. They actually call this the activation period. You have to activate for the rest of this particular epoch. So if I stake, 1.5 days in, I'm going to have to wait 1.5 days for this current epoch to be done and for my coins to be activated, so to speak. And then after that, the next epoch is when I can start making money. So I have to wait the full 3 days again towards the end of this epoch. And if I wait till the end of this 3rd day, then I will start accumulating money in the Solana blockchain. Now, a very important question that you want to ask yourself and to consider when you go through this investment is, what does it take to get my money back out? Well, this is the process of unstaking. And just like there's an activation period in Solana, there's also a deactivation period. So again, if I'm in the middle, right here at day 1.5 of this particular epoch, maybe we're talking about Epoch 202 at this point, and we're 1.5 days in, if I decide I want to unstake, then I have to wait for this period, the rest of the epoch, to deactivate. So, at the very, very most, we're going to have a couple waiting periods. If I decided to stake right here at the very beginning of an epoch, it's going to take me 3 days to activate. Then it will take me 3 days to earn a reward. And then if I decide to deactivate right here at the very beginning of yet another epoch, it will take me 3 days to deactivate. So I'm going to have to wait at the very maximum 3 days to activate, and at the very maximum 3 days to deactivate. Now, in my opinion, this is actually quite generous because I've used other blockchains like Polkadot where the deactivation, or what they call unbonding, where that period actually takes 28 days, 4 weeks, or a whole month to unstake your cryptocurrency from the Polkadot blockchain. So Solana, in this case, whenever you're ready to exit your stake, the most it will ever take you is 3 days, depending on where you are in the current epoch. If you want to know how much time is left in the current epoch, all you have to do, or at least for Solana, all you have to do is go to Explorer, Solana.com. Let me zoom in quite a bit and scroll down. One of the items right here, actually it's kind of these last three that you're looking for. We are on Epoch 252. Wow, that was a total guess when I was doing these demonstrations earlier. I was talking about 200, 201. We're actually pretty close to that. We're on Epoch 252. The Epoch is 98.8% completed, and there are 48 minutes and 58 seconds left remaining on the current Epoch, at which time it rolls immediately to the very next one. So if I stake now within the next 48 minutes roughly, then I'll actually be activated and only 48 minutes left to go. So that kind of covers how staking works, particularly on Solana. Now, staking works a little bit different. The fundamentals of staking is all the exact same, no matter what blockchain you're on, but the actual mechanisms for staking vary quite a bit from one blockchain to the next. And this is why I have to say nothing that I say in this video should be construed as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor in any way. I'm just an average Joe off the street having a conversation with my friends about things that I am passionate about. So you should always do your own research and do what's best for you in your situation. In this case, you may be now wondering, okay, well, how much money can I make? At the time of this recording, Solana is yielding roughly about 7% APY. It may be something like more like 6 to 7% APY for your Solana. So if you just have Solana in your wallet because you're bullish on Solana and you think you're going to get some capital appreciation, you don't need to liquidate it anytime soon. You don't foresee any circumstance where you need to liquidate it anytime soon. You might as well stake it and tack on an additional 6 to 7% APY. You could be earning Solana as soon as 3 days from now if you get in right at the end of an epoch, and then that Solana that you earn could be growing with capital appreciation. That's kind of the beautiful thing about it, is that this you'll get rewarded every 3 days or every epoch effectively, and that's kind of a huge win. So my not financial advice recommendation is, if you're bullish on Solana and you're just holding Solana, you might as well stake Solana and earn more Solana, or any other proof of stake blockchain for that matter, like Polkadot. So this begs the question, how do you actually stake Solana? Well, you can do this from desktop, or you can do this from mobile, and you can do it from a hot wallet, or you can do it from a cold wallet. If you don't know the difference between a hot wallet or a cold wallet, make sure you check out my YouTube videos on hot wallet versus cold wallet. Which one should you use? I've got a video on it, and that'll break it down. I like using a cold wallet for staking because this is kind of the vault at the end of the day, and that's where I'd really like to have it. Since I've already got my cold wallet hooked up to both my Phantom as well as a mobile application on my phone that I'm going to be demonstrating, I'm going to stake a little bit of Solana via both my desktop and my mobile application so that I can show you how you can get it done. In my case, I prefer to use the Phantom wallet. It makes staking very, very, very easy. Let me get signed in. And as of right now, I've got a balance of roughly 68 Solana that I would like to start staking. So I'm going to stake roughly 30 via the Phantom application, and then another 30 or so via my mobile application. So here's how we can go getting started staking Solana right now. I'm going to click on Solana, and after a second it kind of spins here and it says, hey, look, here's your stake. You've already got 210 staked, and we can click on this if we want to stake some more. Now what we're seeing right here is I am currently in the activating phase for a validator named Dix. Dix is the DGen, actually, no, I'm not going to write it out because it's kind of long. It is the DGen Infrastructure Core Services. This is by the DGen Ape Academy. I'm rocking their sweater right now. Big fan of this NFT project. A cool thing that's happening right now in Solana is particularly large NFTs, blue chip NFTs, they have formed DAOs. These are organizations that are run by the NFT holders themselves, the community, the actual core people. They're literally running this stuff like its own business. They're raising money and also contributing back to the Solana ecosystem by spinning up validator nodes. So the DGen Ape Academy and the DGen Trash Pandas, they have the DGen DAO. And that DAO is spinning up a Solana validator node to contribute back to the Solana ecosystem. Also, the Monkey DAO for the Solana Monkey business, they have a validator node. And as of last night, the Thugbirds Thug DAO has launched a validator node. It's really, really cool to see NFT DAOs contributing to the entire Solana ecosystem. So I want to reward this behavior, and I'm going to start by staking a little bit more Solana with the Degen Infrastructure Core Services, or DICS. So up here in the top right, there's a little plus button right here. I'm going to click plus to start staking more SOL. Let's give it a click, and it brings up, okay, here's the search bar where you can choose what node, master node, or validator node you want to stake this to. For my example, I'm going to use DICS, and we see, remember I said that most master nodes take a 10% cut of the total reward. Well, DICS only takes a 7% cut. Truly, they only wanted to take a 6.9% cut because a 6.9% is truly degen, but the Solana ecosystem only allows round numbers right now. So they had to round up to 7% until they can round it back down to 6.9%. So we'll click on DICS, and it asks, how much do you want to stake? I'm going to stake 30 SOL right now and choose stake. Now it tells me to connect to my Ledger. I'm going to open up my Solana application on my Ledger device right here. It's asking me to approve, so I'm going to go through the process and approve on my Ledger device, and there we go. It's staking SOL. So what's really happening under the hood right now? What it's actually doing is it's taking my SOL and it's creating a new account, an entirely new address that's going to be used just for staking that amount of SOL. This address is not to be used to send money to or receive money from or attempt to contribute more. Every single time you stake Solana and then you want to stake even more Solana, you will have to create a new address, and that address will have to wait for the next epoch to end. So look, I'll click close, and what you're seeing on the screen here is the 3 times I have wanted to stake an additional amount of Solana into the Solana ecosystem on the DICS validator. I now have 3 accounts up and running on the DICS validator for 3 separate amounts, and they are separately waiting for this epoch to end. Once this epoch ends, I will still have 3 separate accounts of Solana up and running. And if I want to stake more to DICS in the next epoch, it'll create a new account, and that account will have to wait for the next epoch to end. When I want to unstake my Solana, I will have to individually deactivate each of the accounts. They'll have to wait for the epoch to end, and then I can click the withdraw button and pull the money back out into my main cold or hot wallet. So it is important to understand that this is a thing that the Solana ecosystem does, is it creates a new account that you cannot use for any sort of transactions. Don't attempt to send money to it or withdraw money from it while the stake is active. It's just simply not going to work. But that's it. That's all there is to actually staking Solana with a validator node, especially one that's run by like the Degen Ape Academy and the Degen Trash Panda DAO. I think this is a really, really cool thing. And now, in roughly an hour, when this epoch ends, then all of my stake will be active, and every single epoch after that, I'm going to start earning rewards. That's a really exciting thing, because I'm already bullish on Solana, and I want to hold it for a long time, but now I'm earning even more. And now I've contributed to the entire ecosystem by staking my Solana in order to boost the decentralization of the blockchain, and I've contributed to a team that I legitimately believe in, like the Degen DAO. But I know, now you really want to see how does it work on mobile. Let me fire that up for you. So here is what I'm doing. I've got the Solana app open on my Ledger Nano X, and now I'm going to go through some staking on a mobile application called Moonlet Wallet. You see it here on the screen. It's towards the very end of my list here. This was one of the first mobile apps that not only supported Solana, but also supported the Ledger Nano X's Bluetooth functionality, and on top of that, supported staking. So I'm actually a big fan of what these folks have done here. So let me get signed in and we'll take a closer look about how we're going to go ahead and get some staking done. Some cool things right out of the bat about this app. First of all, you see this big green Stake Now button in the middle of the screen, and it tells me I've got 38 SOL available for staking. And if I, let me hit the back here. There's the ability to do some swapping in the application. But if we scroll down, it tells me right here under the statistics, I see that the current reward rate is 6.86% APY. Then if I scroll down, I see it tells me in the app that the next epoch cycle ends in 25 minutes. It also tells me under my summary what I have available in the wallet, as well as how much I have activating, which I think is, a kind of exciting thing too. And then it shows me all of a bunch of the other coins that you can hold or swap for in this wallet. So let's say I want to do some staking from this mobile application. Again, I already have my Ledger Nano X here, and it tells me at the top I'm using my Ledger Nano X. If you need to get yours set up from scratch, you probably want to come back here and make sure that you start the connection for the applications. Now, you see at the top of the app, it shows you there's a Moonlet button versus Ledger, and then once you choose Ledger, you select that it's a Ledger Nano X. It starts the Bluetooth pairing process for you, and you're good to go from there. So I'm going to hit Stake Now, and by default, they want you to use the Moonlet staking option for you. You don't have to, though. Right here, kind of under, you see right above the Stake Now button at the bottom, there's this All Nodes. It's kind of grayed out. You can actually tap that, and this is where you can select the validator nodes that you want to pick from. Now, since Dix or ThugDAO are still kind of getting started, I can actually choose to stake with the MonkeyDAO, which is another NFT project that I'm a big believer in. So I'm going to choose MonkeyDAO to stake my cryptocurrency with here. And it tells me a little bit about the MonkeyDAO validator node. The summary is obviously not accurate. They need to refresh their data. I think MonkeyDAO has like over 20,000 staked now with it at this point. So we can go ahead and just choose Stake Now. And it tells me there are no staking accounts available right now to be staked with. So we can create a staking account first and then fund it with funds from the wallet address. So I'll create staking account. And this is where it's going to ask me, how much do you want to stake? I'm going to stake 30 SOL here and choose confirm. And now it's going to ask me to sign my first transaction with my wallet here. So I'm going to choose sign first transaction. So it is prompting me to create the staking account with 30 SOL on my ledger right now. I've signed it, and now it's going through the actual creation of the signing account. So we have to wait for 32 blocks to have this transaction confirmed. It says don't close the app. Let it get through this process. You're going to watch it tick around the screen right now, right? And again, I'm doing this all with my Ledger Nano X connected via Bluetooth to my phone right now. So it's almost done creating the staking account. And there we go. It's done. So now I can sign the second transaction, which actually performs the stake to the MonkeyDAO. So it's going to find my Ledger Nano X. It's asking me to delegate right now to the MonkeyDAO. And there it goes. The second step of staking the 30 SOL to MonkeyDAO is underway. So this part is kind of wonky. It takes a little while for Moonlet to actually succeed. Sometimes this will spin for a while. This could be just a bug in the application, something that they've been working on. So it could spin for a while. It could actually spin for all eternity, for all I know. But you can actually click the continue button now on the screen, and it'll sit here and maybe it'll spin again for a while in this transaction history until it actually gets done. But it did succeed. You could take some solace in the fact that it is now underway. And I can actually hit back now, and if I scroll around to my activating status, it now actually does show me as 270 SOL has been activated. I can even confirm this in Phantom back on my desktop to make sure it went right. So now when I bring Phantom back up on the screen, obviously I see my balance has been reduced because I just contributed more to my stake. But now I can actually go into my stake, and I now see that MonkeyDAO is in fact under-validating with the roughly 30 SOL that I put in place. Luckily for me, I get in right before the epoch ended, so as soon as this epoch ends in a few minutes, these in the activating status will move to the activated status, and then at the end of the next epoch, I'll start gaining more money. So this is cool because now I am earning a yield on the Solana that I am so bullish on. On top of that, I'm contributing to organizations and communities that I actually care about, like the MonkeyDAO, like the Degen DAO, and I'm going to contribute to the ThugDAO as soon as we're done here. Then, beyond that, I know that I'm helping secure the Solana blockchain by adding to the clout that these masternodes have, which are used to decentralize the entire Solana blockchain in the first place. Again, this process slightly varies from one blockchain to the next. In fact, Polkadot feels like it's an entirely different thing, a whole different process that you have to go through when you stake Polkadot. You have to create a bonding account and bond your coins that way. Then you can go to the delegating process after you've nominated validators. It's a whole thing. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, the fundamentals are the exact same about what you're doing when you stake your cryptocurrency. So this is what staking cryptocurrency is and why you should care about it. Then we've talked about how you can actually stake your cryptocurrency in Solana by using the Phantom wallet, as well as using a mobile solution like Moonlet, which all of these work with your Ledger Nano device. So thanks for stopping by, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.